We're back, everybody. What's up? Welcome back to Dribble and Drive. I'm Jack.
My name's Anthony. Welcome back.
Yep, we're back. First time in a few weeks after Thanksgiving break, so it's good to be back.
We'll recap some of the football games over Thanksgiving.
Yeah, dude.
Hope you had a good holiday. So.
Yeah, bro. Facts. It's a busy week with finals. These next final two weeks. So I don't know, how much we got. A lot of games to talk about last week, and then Packers Lions. That's the game I'm looking forward to for this week.
Yeah.
Let's get started with wrapping up the Thanksgiving week. The Bears and the Lions. That was a good game. That was definitely not a disappointing game for the Thanksgiving standards. The Giants and Cowboys definitely was not the best game, but the Bears and Lions, that was a good way to start off Thanksgiving morning. Matt Eberflus, he obviously got fired for a good reason, I think. And the Lions, they came out with the win in Detroit after losing to Green Bay last year in Detroit. So
yeah, the Bears went at halftime struggling on the offensive side of the ball again, and they came out and figured some things out. Played a pretty good half of football besides that.
They really did.
Literally besides that last 30 seconds, 40 seconds. If you just cut that out, that's a great half of football. And I feel bad for Matt Eberflus, but that's kind of indefensible. So it's how don't you call a timeout, or at least Caleb too? I've seen Bears fans trying to dismiss Caleb of responsibility too, where they're both responsible to be all right, hold up, you know what I mean?
100%.
Let's look at the clock. What are we doing here? Even when he was at 18 seconds, you can still call a timeout there and cut it and be all right, let's just run a quick play, get out of bounds or something, whatever it was.
Exactly. Obviously the play calling isn't great, the O-line's not great, but Caleb, he's not doing his job either. He's holding on to the ball too long. He's making inaccurate, dumb throws. The one thing I'll say is that, it's very weird because DeAndre Swift, he could not get anything going on the ground. They could not run the ball, so they had to pass. But it was constant terrible drop back after constant terrible drop back. Yeah. And I was just run the ball, even if it's not working. Run it on first and second down. If you need to pass it on third down, go for it. But this passing offense is just so miserable to watch between the blocking, the quarterback play, and the coaching. Sometimes you get a really good Caleb play, but it's not consistent enough to give him his credit as being, a top half of the league quarterback. He's probably one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, despite, superstar plays every few weeks.
Yeah, I don't know. It was this past game, right? When he rolled out of the pocket. He was going towards the sideline, and he tossed a big rainbow lollipop.
Swift?
Yeah, I think so.
So that was against the Vikings just the prior week. He had 3-4 number one overall picks, or number one overall pick plays, and that was one of them.
Okay,
that was crazy.
That might be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
But the Bears, and I'm looking at it on paper here, they're 0-5 on the road.
Oh.
Every single one of their wins is at home. So, that's not
a good sign.
Yeah.
That's really bad. One thing I want to mention about them is that it's weird to see Eberflus fired because according to, all the metrics, EPA per play, PFF, the defense is top 10, and he's a defensive head coach. So it's really weird to see, a defense really performing with their defensive head coach that they hired. But the offense, with the young quarterback, he's just not performing. And it's miserable to see for Eberflus. I feel bad for the guy. But at the same time, there's not much you can do about it when you're making those late game errors, game after game. You're going to lose your job as the head coach. The head coach, sure, you're a defensive head coach. And, I did lean to that side for a bit. But when you make these miserable decisions late game and you lose your team games, you're in charge of the team. You're responsible for that. And obviously Caleb deserves a ton of blame. But when you're the head coach, you got to be able to use that timeout.
Yeah, no, that's on him, and that's why he's unemployed.
100%.
So,
but like I said, it is weird to see, the defense playing at a top 10 level with the defensive head coach. Because when they hired him, I was like, I don't like the hire. I wanted to see an offensive head coach. And he went through a number of coordinators. Matt Nagy was before him, but he had, who's the guy that went to the Raiders? Luke Getsy. He had Luke Getsy, and then he had Shane Waldron. Those are two really weird hires.
Yeah.
But does that fall on him, or is that Ryan Poles?
No, I think that's him.
It's him? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's fair enough. You can't...
There's plenty of pieces there that you've seen at work where it's all right, there's something here.
Yeah, you got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Who do you think gets the job? I think Ben Johnson is a really good candidate for them.
Yeah.
Because
I don't see why he wouldn't want to go play with the go coach the number 1 pick in Caleb Williams. That's like the ideal situation, That's
exactly.
a team that's ready to win now. They want to win now.
Exactly. And teams that need a head coach are going to be the Bears, the Jaguars, the Jets, the Saints, and the Raiders. Maybe the Cowboys. Maybe, the Colts, the Bucks are looking.
Maybe even the Dolphins, too.
Maybe. I was thinking about that, and I'm like, I don't see them doing it, but I think it's a real concern that you have to look at because of the way the offense performed all season. Like, it's got to be a top 10 offense with the talent they have.
We'll get to them.
Yeah. Between the Bears, the Jags, the Jets, Saints, and Raiders, I don't see Ben Johnson taking the Jags, the Jets, the Saints, Raiders jobs. It's got to be the Bears. Like, I don't know where else he'd want to go.
The only one I would see is Jacksonville because they have a quarterback and maybe he likes Trevor Lawrence more. That's the only reason I could see.
I agree with you there. I think that's not a bad landing spot. They have talent all over.
And this is why he deferred till this year to give himself options. And, if he jumped on a job last year, who knows, could have been completely different. Where now, at least he has he knows he's going into a situation that it's like, all right, I can win now, and there's pieces here where I don't have to build something or culture.
Exactly. And if you're picking between Chicago and Jacksonville, even though it's a division rival, I don't think you care in that instance when you're making that decision. No, you go to your new team. I think he picks Chicago, and I don't see why Chicago doesn't do it because you got to make Caleb work.
Yeah.
Let's
keep it rolling here. We'll go to the other game on Thanksgiving. The Dolphins, as we just mentioned.
Yes.
And the Packers. This game, 30-17. Definitely the score does not say how close it was because the Green Bay Packers at one point were up 28-0, was it?
Yes. It was a blowout
27?
early. Jaden Reed and Jordan Love were balling. Josh Jacobs was, carrying that rock downhill. In the Dolphins offense, it's supposed to be a superpower, but too often the play breaks down. They can't run the ball like they used to be able to. And when this offense was balling in the past years, they could run the football at a top 5 level in the NFL. This year, they're just not getting it. Achan's more of a receiving back. Mostert's not getting many carries. They're basically a negative team on the ground. And Tua, when he drops back, I feel like he doesn't have enough time. I feel like he's just rushing. I feel like if he had more of a Jared Goff pocket to throw with, I don't know if this offense would work, but it would have to work better.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is you can't win without a good offensive line, both ways, running the football and passing the football.
And it's been the same thing historically, but they're a warm weather team, and it's pretty clear because, let's see this season. They go up to Buffalo, lose in Buffalo. They lose to the Packers on the road here. I don't know. That's a team last year in Kansas City, they absolutely let down in the playoffs. It's just they always kind of disappoint. And anytime I feel like they're going anywhere north of Virginia, that middle part of the country,
they're cooked.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tua is 0-8 when the temperature is 45 degrees or lower. 36-15 when it's above 45 degrees.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I didn't even need to see that, and that's just what you see with your naked eye.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You see the offense just completely go stale. They can't make anything happen. And this team can't run the ball like they could last year. Oh my, I don't want to see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, Achan is solid.
He is. I love that dude. Achan, Hill, Waddle, they're not the problem. It's, the quarterback coach, pass blocking, running.
And they're a really old team, too. I don't like how old they are. And
there's not much potential.
Yeah.
If Tyreek Hill goes, they're closer to the bottom of the league.
The only way I'm betting, if I'm ever going to bet on a Dolphins team, to be all right, this is the year. They need home field advantage.
They do. They need it. They need to go 13-4.
Yeah. They need to. They need to be a 1 or a 2 seed and to have a chance because, I just don't think... maybe when Buffalo gets their dome and a few other places get domes, it might change, but...
Buffalo's getting a dome?
I think when they're building their new stadium, it's going to be a dome.
Man, that's good for them, but it's going to be kind of disappointing not watching those snow games anymore. But, the numbers go even deeper, too. In games where the temperature doesn't drop below 45, Tua.
Nope, it does not have a dome. Never mind.
Oh, really?
I am lying.
But still, I mean, teams are going to the dome direction, so we'll see about that. It'll make things easier for the Dolphins. But, like, as to what you were saying, like, if you go 13-4, you get that home field advantage, you get the warm weather. You also get a confident Tua. I think that's a big piece of it, a big part of it. But, like, obviously the warm weather thing. In games where the temperature doesn't drop below 45, Tua is 36-16. His passer rating is 30 points higher than his cold weather rating. And then the numbers 25-8 at home, 13-14 on the road. So he needs to be in a favorable situation. He needs to be in Miami.
Yeah.
And if you're 13-4 with the 1 seed next year, I think this Miami team is a team you don't necessarily want to play in the playoffs. Just because of how talented they are. We've seen how high flying their offense can be at times. But yeah, I think the key is going to be keeping the defense top half of the league. And, building an offensive line that allows you to have a top 5 offense, because this year the offense is just not the same as it was before. They can't run the ball like they used to, and the passing offense is still, when it matters, as it always has been. So this Dolphins team, I think you give McDaniel another year.
How many teams do they play? 7?
7.
So their Broncos are sitting at the 7 seed.
They're going to get it, right?
8-5, and the Dolphins are 5-7. So they're at least 3 games back, maybe 2.5, I think. 2.5 back of the playoff with 5 games to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not looking up for them.
My roommate's a Dolphins fan. He's like, oh, we're going to go on this run. No. Dude, come on, man. Are you kidding yourself?
Who do they have ahead of them? Let me take a look at their schedule. They have the Texans in Houston. I mean, that should be a winnable game, but that's so before that, they have the Jets in Miami. That should be a win, but that needs to be a win. Yeah. Then you have the Texans in Houston. That should be a winnable game, but they're probably going to drop it.
Yeah, they should be able to they could grab all these games, the last 5 games. They got the Jets twice. They got the Browns. They got the 49ers who are reeling, and then you got the Texans. And the Texans are the best team they face, which isn't crazy.
It's not.
So I do see a path for the Dolphins, as much as I don't want to.
Absolutely. And if you look at the Broncos' schedule, what they have in front of them is they have first the Colts in Denver. That's a game that could go either way. The Broncos absolutely should win it, but they could drop it.
Yeah.
Same with the Chargers. The Chargers, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
The Broncos have a tough schedule in front of them. They have the Colts. That's their easiest game. Then they have the Chargers in LA, the Bengals in Cincinnati, and then the Chiefs. I think you're looking at 2-2.
Yeah.
So, if the Dolphins go 4-1, then all of a sudden
you need the Broncos to go 1-3, or the Chargers, or the Ravens.
Yes. Yeah. So the Dolphins need the Broncos to go 1-3.
They need one of those Chargers, Ravens, Broncos to pretty much lose out or win one game the rest of the season, which the odds on that are not.
No. I'm keeping the Broncos and the Chargers and the Ravens in those wild card spots. I don't think anybody else gets in.
So let's pivot to that Broncos game.
Definitely.
I know we're kind of jumping out of order, but that Bo Nix game, that was one of the first times because they haven't been on primetime a ton. That was one of the first time I actually sat down and watched Bo Nix, and I was like, whoa, this guy can move. He can sling the rock. He's, he looked confident.
He did.
He was I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm looking for. I know my guys. He hit Cortland Sutton a few times on a few bombs.
The Marvin Mims bomb.
90-something yards. Yeah, that's...
He's got a whippy arm. He's accurate. He can move. He has all the pieces to make it work. And I love Sean Payton's system with him. It's the perfect Drew Brees comparison. A young Drew Brees comparison. Not too big, not too flashy, but he gets the job done and he can move around doing it. He didn't have the greatest game either. 18 for 35, 2 picks. But it was that kind of game. Jameis on the other half threw 60 times, 3 picks. We know what you're going to get from Jameis. But yeah, the Broncos, this is a team that...
Bo seems like a gamer, you know what I mean?
Yes, I don't know what the ceiling is for him, but I think it's a team that if you surround him right, can go to a Super Bowl, can win some playoff games with Sean Payton as the coach.
He almost did look a little Baker-ish.
He does. He
does.
You
know what I mean?
Gamer.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know. That's what Like, when I was watching, I'm like, geez.
Because they're shorter and they're not super athletic, but they can move and they're good.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun to watch.
Strong arm.
Maybe some bad throws, but yeah, like they can really whip the ball accurately, move around, do everything, and get the job done.
Yeah, the one thing I'm a little concerned about is that Broncos defense.
Yes.
Just because, like, we've been touted that they're very good, and then you see that not great offense.
Yeah.
And they still...
All the numbers.
I mean, they did make great plays at times. I don't know how many turnovers exactly they had.
All the numbers have them as a top 5 defense, but yeah, it was the concern of their team.
Yeah, there were a few, like, big chunk plays of, like, 30, 40 yards, like 5 or 6 of them.
To
like,
Jameis Winston and Jerry Jeudy. Like, how does that work?
I remember, like, first drive of the game, they hit, like, a 40-yarder.
Yeah.
And, like, they didn't get any points out of it somehow. And then the next drive down the game, I think there's another 30-yarder, you know, like, and I don't know. Those big plays, those kind of got to get nipped.
100%. And you would think Surtain was going to be, like, all over Jeudy. He wasn't. Jeudy was running wild. He was, 200-plus yards.
Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah. And then Elijah Moore had 111, too.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. You can't let that happen.
So,
but, yeah, you know what you're going to get from Jameis on the other half of that. I think Jameis, it's insane how he hasn't gotten better. Like, at that one thing, because he's so talented, he just can't make it work.
Yeah.
But, yeah, moving on from that.
His whole act is awesome, though.
I love it. He's such a great guy.
I hope he doesn't go away.
Yeah, I really don't want him to. And he shouldn't. I mean, 500 yards, you get the picks. But I think somebody would love to work with him. Sean Payton loved him, too.
Bring him on the Raiders next
Yeah,
year.
literally. Let him ball. Let him have some fun. But Raiders-Chiefs, can we talk about the end of that game? Or
I didn't watch it, so I saw all the controversy on Twitter, and I was having a conversation at Thanksgiving the day before with a family member, and we were talking about games and scripts, and how, like, I was like, dude, if you actually think these things are scripted, why would anyone watch? You know, like, why?
Yeah.
The integrity, people would think it's like WWE.
Exactly.
And nobody
would want to watch it.
And then that thing happens the next day where I don't know exactly what the play was, but I saw, like, they called a false start, and then it wasn't a false start.
So, they blew the play dead, threw the flag, the ref's running, blowing the play dead. The ball ends up on the ground, the Chiefs recover it, but the play was dead, as the ref called it. And then they review it, and they're like, it's Chiefs ball. And it's like, you can't make this up. The refs had control of it, and it sucks. Yeah. It sucks to watch, and that's as far as I'll say.
So it was a full circle moment, because I was sitting there, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is exactly why this guy was sitting there saying this, because of this shit, right? Like, this stuff right here, you know what I mean? It's
exactly.
Like, come on, like...
It sucks to watch, because, like, the integrity of the game goes a little bit. Obviously, you can't script a whole game, but in those brutal moments, it sucks to see the refs have that power. And, I really don't want the Chiefs to win just because of this stuff. But they're going to win. They're probably going to win it all. They're the best team.
I see the narrative kind of coming out now, though. Like, Chiefs, they haven't looked great. They lost. Like, you look at all their wins, they're all one-possession wins, pretty much. And, you go the last 6 games, they're all one-possession games. They lose to the Bills 3 weeks ago. Then they just squeak it out versus the Panthers by 3 last week. Then they just beat the Raiders by 2. So I don't know if it's trending the same way like it was last year, where people are starting to maybe write off the Chiefs a little bit.
For me,
because I'm going to be weary to do that.
I can't write them off. We know who they are. They're the best situational team in football. It's going to be interesting to see which way the narrative goes. If people, go like kind of team up against the Chiefs and root against them because, the ref stuff, the NFL stuff, or if the narrative will go towards, even though the numbers aren't that great, they're the best situational team in football, best third down offense. They win all their games within like a touchdown, but they always win. It's going to be interesting to see which way the narrative sways. I think it can go both ways. The refs have helped them, but they are the best situational team in football. You look at a team like the Ravens, like Lamar, he looks like the MVP. 30 touchdowns, 3 picks. The numbers are insane. Derrick Henry is having one of the best rushing seasons ever. But they can't win the big games. They can't win in the big moments. So it's like the Ravens, their numbers may be so much better, but then the Chiefs, they always win when it matters.
Yeah.
So it's like statistical versus situational. It's interesting.
I think we'll have a good idea of where people stand on the Chiefs over the next going into the end of the season here because they have teams like they play next week on Sunday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
They play the Chargers, and then 2 weeks later they got the Texans, and then they got the Steelers, and then they got the Broncos to close out the season. So that's like a 4 out of 5 games that are against potentially all playoff teams.
Everybody's going to be watching that Steelers game, that Chargers game, that Broncos game. Like, it's going to be on in front of everybody, and everybody's going to see.
The only reason I could think the Broncos game might not be is just if the Chiefs do win.
That's true. They might just sit. They might.
But
I don't blame them.
But other than that, we'll get. I think the Chargers this Sunday is going to be an awesome game.
Absolutely.
Sunday Night Football.
Absolutely. That's going to be great. I think the Chiefs probably win it, but the Chargers, they're a team. They're a playoff team. They can get the win. It's a divisional game. We've seen Herbert go head to head with Mahomes.
All right, so let's keep it moving here. How about we just pick one more game from the day if we want to recap each, and then we'll move on to like basketball or something.
Bet Steelers Bengals, and then I do want to talk about the Patriots Colts game because that was fun.
Okay.
So we can talk about the Colts Pats game just real quick. Drake May, I think he reminds me of like that Bo Nix gamer style, but he has all the physical tools too. So it's a little bit more Josh Allen.
And he's not afraid to get hit.
No, the mechanics that was kind of the concern about him, but they don't look like a concern. He's running around like a gamer, but it doesn't look like a bad thing. Yeah. The offensive line can't block for him. The receivers aren't really getting open. He's doing all he can. And he's not afraid. He's not afraid of the moment. He's, like I said, he has that Bo Nix, Baker Mayfield play style, but he's got the arm like Josh Allen. He's got the physical tools like Josh Allen. So I really like his ceiling. I think next year the Patriots are going to be, going for those playoffs, but it's going to be all about what they do in the offseason. I think they need a receiver and a left tackle. Once they get those, I think they're a borderline playoff team. But this year it's frustrating to watch because it's really just him. The running game sometimes gets stuff going, but there's nothing that he can rely on. The defense, kind of let him down, and the offense, you can just never trust anybody outside of Drake.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like the scheme because I think like Alex Van Pelt, like people were ragging on him around here. We're from New England. People were ragging on him like, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing through the first like 2-3 weeks of the season. Like, come on, you haven't even given the guy a month. Like, come on, give the guy a month. And I feel like he's compared to where this offense was last year and earlier in the season. Like, we're putting up now 20 a game.
Exactly.
We were having trouble getting 17 points. Like, our line, when I was betting on games, they'd be like, oh, Patriots scored 14.5. Like, can we get more than 2 touchdowns and a field goal or something? And it's like,
right.
We're night and day better on the offensive side of the ball right now. And, like, I think, Jalen Polk isn't giving you what you want right now. And, like, but you do have that Maserati and, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And Drake May. So, I don't know what they need. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the run game because the run game is like we have a lot of big backs. We don't have any like speed backs or like receiving backs really. Like, it's a lot of just downhill running or like I feel like you need to give Drake May some options out in the screens or something.
Like, make it look a little bit more Mike McDaniel-esque. Like, some stuff at least.
Yeah, and I don't like the defense. We need some. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Elliott Wolf. We'll see what he does this upcoming season. I was watching the highlights of that guy from Arizona. What's his name?
Jalen McMillan.
McMillan.
He's a baller.
Yeah, dude. He looks like he's good. So I'm hoping maybe we take him. But I wouldn't be opposed to trading down, just getting some O-line guys. Get a stud O-lineman.
Even if they get the left tackle from LSU in the top 10, I think that would be good. I think the offensive line has got to be the priority. Because, I don't know, I see a lot of teams, like with young quarterbacks, they go the defensive route. They build a really good defense, like the Bears. I think the best way to do it is surround your quarterback with a good offensive line and some reliable receivers. I think they have a few pieces there, but I think they need a one. But they also need an offensive line, whether it's T. Higgins or...
I'm all for going out and handing him a bag.
Yeah, whether it's him or through the draft, as long as they get one of those guys and build the offensive line up, I think they're going to be really good. Obviously not immediately, but they're going to be really improved. You can't throw... I think you have the pieces. Like Douglas, I think he's a starter. And then I think between Polk, Baker, all these guys, you can find a wide receiver too for the meantime. Not long term, but for the meantime.
Yeah.
And then if you get a T. Higgins, then you got T. Higgins, Douglas, and all these pieces to fill in, and then you draft the offensive line. It's going to be looking a lot better. And then, pick up a speedy back late in the draft.
Yeah. This upcoming season, we need to see some sort of improvement in the fact that, like, all right, we're a fringe, we're a 500 team. I want to be like a 500 team next year. Like, that's probably the goal, just to get some wins. You know what I mean?
It's got to be.
Yeah. Be like, all right, there's glimpses, where, like, this year, it's just like, all right, Drake May's legit.
Yeah.
We know that.
But if you go, another year with Drake May and there's not enough improvement, you're like, oh, what do we do here now?
Yeah.
But I think we know Drake May's not the problem. For the other half of that game, Anthony Richardson, he had a lot of bad. He did have a lot of bad. I'm not gonna lie. He did have a lot of good though. He had a few throws, that throw to Granger and that throw to Mitchell at the end of the game, like beautiful place balls.
Yeah,
and a great drive.
That drive to close it out was a closing drive.
It was really impressive. Obviously, you want to see a little bit, more efficiency in the red zone. I don't know. I think Steichen, that has to fall on Steichen. He didn't put the ball in AR's hands. You can't blame AR for that. But there was that pick. There was those two picks. That second pick was really brutal. That Gonzalez interception.
What'd you think of the call to go for it on the fourth? So, like, they score at the end of the game, tie it, like, and then they go for the 2. You like that?
I do. Okay. I can't hate on it because they got it. But at the same time, it's one of those situations where if they don't get it, I'm like, come on, send it to overtime.
Yeah, and I think they were the better team, too, in the fact that, like, all right, I think they could have kicked the field goal and been all right and still gone to OT and won. Because, like, I don't know. Drake May, like, the Patriots, they got a lot of work to do.
100%, and so do the Colts. But then, the Steelers-Bengals, Russell Wilson, he somehow put up 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Burrow, 28 for 38, 303. This Bengals team, I'll just say it real quick, the rushing offense and the defense is letting Burrow down. I mean, Burrow and Chase and Higgins, I don't even know if Higgins played, but it doesn't matter because they can't win. Yeah, he did. So it's Burrow, Chase, and when Higgins plays, I mean, they're just carrying a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's Zach Taylor's fault, but the defense, the rushing offense, the personnel is not there. Man, Joe Burrow, like, you're wasting, in Jamar Chase, you're wasting just such premier talent. That's all I'll say there. The Steelers, I still think their offense is not legit enough to win a Super Bowl or make it to the Super Bowl in the AFC. It's just the Bengals' defense is so bad. Then the Eagles-Ravens, that game was a little bit disappointing for me. I thought it was going to be, a lot more high-powered. But I guess the fraudulence came out of the Ravens a little bit for me. Most penalized team in the league, worst pass defense in the league. The offense just has too many inconsistencies. What were they thinking when they got Aguilar, Deontay Johnson, Zay Flowers, and Rashad Bateman as their 4 receivers? Like, those guys just make mistake after mistake.
Zay Flowers has been really invisible this year.
Yeah, he's good, but I think he's a 2. He's a 2.
Yeah.
And so it's just too much for me. The Ravens, I don't think they're legit. I think this is the Chiefs conference with the Bills as a challenger. That was a really good game, too, the way the Bills played. Niners are out. You were right. They are done. They are cooked. McCaffrey's out for the season. But, yeah.
It's sad.
It really is. It really is. I mean, I wanted to see this core with Shanahan get a Super Bowl, but it doesn't look like they're going to.
I have a Niners fan in my life.
Really?
And we rag on him in the group chat, and I really, like, when I see people ragging on him now, I'm like, guys, come on. He's had it tough enough.
Give him a break. He thought he'd have 2 Super Bowls by now.
Yeah, 2 Super Bowls. So, like, what was I going to say, too? One thing I want to touch on NFL before we go quickly in the speed run NBA.
Bet.
The Al-Shaair suspension for the Texans. I was talking to a few people, they were like, he could have pulled up early. I think that was a dirty play, and, like, people who were defending it, I think it's the right amount of games, about the Nick Caserio and the coach coming out to defend it before the suspension was even issued was a clown statement. Like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Like, even if you guys in the wrong, man, you just swallow your tongue, you say it to the media, and then you go behind closed doors and you be like, dude, hey, man, I'm glad with the passion you're playing with, and this, and this.
100%.
And you say it to him personally. You don't need to say that out publicly.
Exactly.
Because now you almost put this target on your back that you don't care about player safety and this and that, the NFL almost might I feel like they're gonna like just come after him now and be like, oh, he's got something against us, and we're gonna open the book every time we can on this guy.
Yeah, it's brutal. I think it definitely could have been worse, but it's a dirty play. I mean, there's a reason he got hurt. There's a reason he was lying on the ground and his team was defending him.
There was a reason, yeah. The
He
whole
slid.
sideline was trying to fight that
Yeah,
guy.
absolutely, understandably, as they should have been. It was, it was a slide. He slid. The only thing I was looking at is like he was trying to prevent the first down line, but then at the same time he slid. He gave himself up. That's a dirty play. You can't make that hit.
And he goes, he lifts the forearm. You know what I mean? Like it's
a
right
dirty
into
play.
his face.
It's a dirty play. Does he have a history? I don't think he does, but I know he definitely has a mouth. He definitely is that kind of like.
I think he did have a little history.
That's what I'm thinking.
So I think it was kind of based on that too.
Back for when he was on the Niners, I think he did something. But that's a dirty play at the end of the day, and he gave himself a reputation, even if he doesn't have one. But yeah, we got Packers-Lions tomorrow night. Before we move on to the NBA, who you got in that?
Packers-Lions. Ooh.
I think I'm going to take the Lions out of safety, but I think the Packers could win it. If they do, they'd be 8-9 in their last 10. Or no, 8-1 in their last 9.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game. I don't know.
We saw the way they rolled into the playoffs. They got hot last year in the second half, rolled into the playoffs on fire, made it past the Cowboys, almost beat the Niners. Who knows? Maybe this team catches fire. And
Packers just can't get down in this game. They
yeah,
can't play
they can't.
from behind.
They've got to, their offense has to be high powered.
Yeah.
And I said I think they need T. Higgins next year because I think they need, they're not gonna do it. The Packers, they don't make those kind of moves.
And I feel like that's not really conducive to winning football in the playoffs.
You don't think they should do it?
Wisconsin.
Okay, the only thing I'm saying,
they got to be able to run the football. And,
true.
You know what I mean?
True. Maybe just get another offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, they have good tight ends. I like the Packers.
I just sometimes I'm like, man, I wish Love had a won. Like Jaden Reed's going up there, like putting up like blank games, and I think if you flipped Watson, Dobbs, or Wicks with like a mid-round pick for him, they're not going to do it. They're not going to pay him. They're not going to do it. But I think that makes the offense go from like top 10 to top 5. And I think without like an elite defense, you need that top 5 offense.
Yeah.
So that's just the way I look at it. But I think the Packers getting hot. I think they could make their way into this playoff really hot, really on fire, and maybe pose a threat to these Lions. But yeah, I think that about does it for the NFL.
Yeah. Wow, there's only a few good games next week.
Yeah.
Chargers, Chiefs, that game we just talked about, and Seahawks, Cardinals. That's it.
Yeah, and then you never know with those Seahawks Cardinals games. A few weeks ago,
Seahawks could get down 20 points to start the game.
Yeah,
so.
And then a few weeks ago, I think the score was 16-6. So you never know. Yeah. But yeah, for this NBA, we got some decent games tonight. Magic, Sixers, Lakers, Heat. But with the bigger picture, the Celtics, the Cavs, and the Magic are surging in the East. The Knicks aren't too bad right now. But the Magic without Paolo, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you exclude last night when they got smoked by the Knicks, I think before that they've won, let's see here, 11? No. So, 1, 2,
yeah.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
They went like...
Dude, they've won 12 of the last 13 before that game last night, so they've won 12 of the last 14 games, if you want. Like,
wow.
Without
Paolo.
And, like, that means it's just these guys stepping up. And Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, KCP, the new guy they brought in. And then also, like, Anthony Black, he's averaging 8 points off the bench. I know, like, last year he didn't really do all too much, and people were kind of disappointed, so he's stepping up. Jonathan Isaac, he's a defensive guy. You know, they're a team I like and I've always liked, and it's coming together like sooner than they imagined.
Yes.
So they're almost like a young Thunder, because you think about like how many top 10 picks they've had. Like I was talking to you the other day, like Franz, he's a lottery pick. Paulo, number 1 pick. Jalen Suggs, third or 4th overall pick. Anthony Black, 4th overall pick. Wendell Carter Jr., another lottery pick. Jonathan Isaac, another lottery pick. Cole Anthony, another lottery pick. It's just like these guys have all the talent, and finally, I don't know the name of their coach, but he's putting it all together. These guys are rolling, and they are when Paulo comes back, they are a team to watch because they could be a threat for the Eastern Conference.
They really could. Like, at this point, Franz is playing like a top 10 player in the NBA.
It might be too soon for them, to win it all in the East, but I think they could make a serious case to go to the conference finals, depending on seeding.
Absolutely,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. I think this is a team that could beat the Cavs. A team that should beat the Cavs.
Yeah, and they lost, I want to say, Game 7 last year, the Cavs.
They did. They took them to... This Magic team's better than this Cavaliers team. No matter how good the Cavs are playing, I like the Magic's upside. They have two players that, I didn't know if they were ever going to reach this level, but they are reaching this level that we didn't know if they were going to.
Yeah.
This top 15 territory in the entire NBA. I mean, Franz has proven it right now. I'd like to see his three-point percentage go up a little bit, but other than that, I mean, this Orlando team is absolutely balling.
Yeah, first time he's had to be a facilitator, and he's taking... he's learning as he goes, but he's definitely, he's averaging 5.9 assists, most assists of his career.
It's like this Paolo injury is low-key a blessing for this Magic team, letting Franz develop into that role he needs to.
Yeah, and then Paolo comes back, he just plugs in, makes it easier to score, and he's a
superstar. He had a 50-point triple-double before he got hurt.
Yeah.
This team, I don't think they beat the Celtics, but they may win 2.
And they could...
Nobody won 2 against us last year.
Depending on how confident they feel, they could package a few guys together and go get a disgruntled star. I don't know who. I don't know what they'd be interested in. They'd probably be interested in a big guy because they don't... their big guy is Mo Wagner.
Yeah.
And Goga Batadze, who's... Those guys are...
Could they look at Nikola
Anybody
Vucevic?
could have had them at one point in the league.
Could they look at Nikola Vucevic returning? Would they look at more like a 4?
I don't know. He's kind of slow for what they do. They want a quick, rotating, mobile center.
Yeah. I was thinking Cat, but no. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what they'd want. But
the Pacers are struggling when they look at Miles Turner. I don't know if the Pacers would do that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, could happen. It really could. Nick Claxton.
I know Wendell Carter's always injured, so they probably think he can be that guy, but he's always kind of in and out.
A little unreliable. The 76ers are 5-14. Do you think Embiid... How much longer do you think Embiid has in Philly?
Embiid's knee is, falling apart.
Yeah,
his... I don't know if you've watched any videos about it.
It's
I don't know why the team hasn't come out and said hey, if we play him, he's just gonna get worse and worse and worse. He's got the same thing Kawhi has, and that his knee's deteriorating, and they just need to
manage it,
and they just need to get him to the end of the season. Where
at that point you just shut him down.
Yeah, he's gonna have a quick fall off. I think, as much as I don't want to say it, you know what I mean?
I feel like before it happens, they need to shut him down and trade him.
He's gonna go from he was a guy's MVP, where now he's gonna be lucky if he can stay on the floor 20 minutes. You know what I mean? It's
it's insane. It's a really weird situation. He's the best player in the league, you could argue, when he's healthy. His team's 5-14 right now.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. The Hornets are better. The Pistons are better.
LaMelo is awesome to watch.
He's insane.
Yeah,
that dude plays like he's 6'1", but he's 6'7". That's exactly what you want out of a point guard.
Yeah,
outside of the defense, he's the perfect offensive point guard.
I like what's going on in Charlotte. They got a big center there too.
They got a few. Mark Williams, Nick Richards.
Yeah, exactly. And then they got Miller. Brandon Miller.
Dude, LaMelo and Miller are stars.
Yeah, and I saw an article saying oh, we need to get LaMelo out of Charlotte, and it's that's what's wrong with the NBA. You want every star to be on a big time team where
and all of a sudden
let Charlotte have LaMelo.
Honestly,
that's their guy. You know what I mean? They paid him. You know what I mean? He wants to be there, and they're building a team around him. So. And then if you want to shift out west, probably the biggest surprise out there right now is the Houston Rockets.
15-7, second place.
Yeah, they're turning up.
And they're 7-3 in their last 10, so they're not falling off.
The Houston, last season they were an animal at home. They always won games at home, and I'm sure it's the same this year. if you look 2 nights ago, they did beat the Thunder. Actually, like 2 nights ago, the first time in like 12 or like 13 years, the 1 and 2 seeds played each other on the same night. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
So
What?
like the Cavs and the Celtics played each other, and then the Rockets
nice.
and the
Okay.
Thunder played each other right afterwards. It was one of the best nights to watch. But then the Cavs, that's when they beat the Celtics. So
Okay.
definitely not a fluke.
No.
And then Oklahoma City, they've been struggling a little bit with Chet out. They got Hartenstein back, but he's kind of, he fits his role, but they're asking him to do a lot and play a lot of minutes.
They are.
Yeah, I think they'll get it back. I mean, they just need Chet.
They do.
So,
He's such a big piece of their team, offensively and defensively.
yeah.
Like, you want Hartenstein there as, the guy who can come in as a gadget guy with Holmgren and without him. You need Chet in there. He's your entire defense. He guards the rim. He can step out to the perimeter. Offensively, he stretches the floor. So, and they're still the 1 seed. They're still 7-3 in their last 10. One of the hottest in the league. The Mavericks are catching fire. They're 9-1 in their last 10. Won their last 5. 14-8, good enough for the 3 seed.
Grizzlies too, 14-8. Like that.
I like it. And then the Clippers, kind of a surprise team. James Harden, 8-2 in their last 10. James Harden is having a phenomenal run right now at the age of 35.
Yeah.
He had 23. But the other night,
he's that whole team revolves around him. My roommate was doing a fantasy draft in basketball, and he had like a first round pick, and I think he had a few options of guys, and I was like, listen, I know he's old, I know you might not like him. James Harden though, he's
a move.
He's gonna be having the ball, his hands, every possession down the floor on that team. And how about Norman Powell too? He's like shooting like 24 a game. Yeah.
He's an insane fast break player too.
Yeah,
like this Clippers team,
10 points per game increase since last season. So they're really
they're overperforming. I didn't think this was going to be a playoff team.
Yeah, Ty Lue's a good coach. He's
Absolutely.
always been a good like in-game adjustment coach. So like it's fun to see they're putting it together, and it looks like
it's great to see the narrative change from LeBron carrying him, and now he's an Olympic level head coach, one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
So I'm glad for him.
All right, one more. We'll touch on these 3 teams before we get out of here. A little bit disappointing. I know the Lakers started up, but they haven't been doing great. The Nuggets haven't really been doing too hot, and the Timberwolves have not been doing too hot. Is it time to panic?
It's time to worry about the Timberwolves. It's time to worry about the Timberwolves. I came into the season thinking they were definitely a top 3 team in the West, probably a top 3 team in the league. They are far from it. Yeah. They're the farthest from it. 10-10. They're mid. This reminds me of the 2018-19 Celtics. They make a big trade, and everything looks great. They're a young team, battling in the conference finals. Everything looks up from here. You got a superstar. You make you bring back a guy, or you make a trade, and you're 10-10. 20 games in. It's brutal. I mean,
I think Ant's trying to do it himself a little too much too as well. They did play the Celtics close the other night, so like I feel like they can turn it on when they want to, but it's still like Minnesota, they're always just a little disappointing.
Do you like the fit with Randall or no?
Yeah, I do like Randall.
Okay.
That's the problem. I just don't. I think it's Gobert, but they can't. They're locked up. You know what I mean? They're committed to him.
They can't get rid of the dude. Yeah. They can't.
When we go to the Lakers, have you seen the stat with LeBron? He hasn't, the last 5 games, he hasn't made a single 3. I think he's on track to miss the most consecutive 3s in a row, and he needs 2 more to do it, and he would break Grant Williams' record.
What? That's insane. Of course, Grant Williams owns the record, but you can't be doing that at age 40.
That would be awesome. I don't know. That would just make my day. You know what I mean?
It's been a big part of his game for the past few years. I mean, it's going to happen when you age like this.
Yeah.
Other than that, in the NBA, you wanted to talk about, who's the other team? The Nuggets.
Yeah.
5-5 in their last 10. They won last night, but, I mean, they're 11-8. With Nikola Jokic and all these guys, you're looking to be one of the top 3 teams in the West.
Yeah. I think you're pretty much right with that. I think Jokic, he still cooks. He does his thing, and he'll get him right back on track. They need a little more from Murray. The only thing is, do they pull the trigger on something? Like a deal?
I think you do.
Do they move one of their young guys?
I think you do because you see the signs from a mile away. You lost in the second round last year. You're really middling this year.
Christian Braun's having a good year though. Maybe like Peyton Watson. I don't know. Maybe MPJ. I don't know if you're not liking what you're getting from him.
Or Gordon or Murray.
Yeah.
Because Murray's always been that guy.
Russ.
Can Murray be that second guy anymore?
Everybody always wants to trade Russ. I'm sorry.
Oh, dude, he's just terrible.
I know.
I mean, that guy sucks at basketball at this point.
But
But Jamal Murray, he's always been that star player, like a legitimate superstar come playoff time, come when it matters. Is he able to be that guy anymore? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think maybe you pull the deal on him. You pull the trigger on him, whether it's a wing or a guard. I think you need that second guy next to Jokic to run that, pick and roll 2-man game, pick and pop. That's what's made them so successful is that 2-man game late in playoff games.
Yeah.
I don't think they have the personnel next to Jokic to do it anymore. I really don't. So, but who's a guy? I mean, do you draft someone?
Nobody that's gonna make like an immediate impact.
No.
Like you have to go and probably get one of these guys off the Thunder, the Rockets,
Jalen
Magic.
Green?
Yeah, something like that.
Is Jalen Green good enough?
But the Rockets right now aren't going to do that deal. They're second seed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Honestly,
a lot to figure out.
it's not easy to get a really good guard. I mean, Dame is really old. Like,
I wanted
it's a little late
to touch on college hoops too.
I bet.
The ACC. This is another season they are overrated. They yesterday versus the SEC they went 1-9, and the only win came with the Clemson 4-point win over the SEC's best team, Kentucky, arguably best team ranked right now. But I just don't. The college basketball, the Big 12 and the SEC are by far the best conferences. Like. I'm a Marquette fan, but I realize the Big East this year, right now at least, it does not seem that strong.
Yeah.
College basketball, I feel like these two conferences will get a lot more bids this year than like years past, and I think people might be upset, but I think it's going to be warranted based on these out of conference games, like results versus the conference play. Like when the Big 10 plays the Big East and the ACC plays the SEC, like. These games mean a lot, and I think like that was huge for the SEC because now they're gonna like if it ever comes down to tiebreaker, they're gonna be like, well, look at all these SEC teams beat these ACC teams, and like if it ever comes down to a tiebreaker, which it did last year, and Virginia got in, and like I just think like they won't make that mistake again.
100%. Like
So
it's gonna be a really interesting year in college basketball. So, do you think anybody from the ACC gets in? Like
yeah, like Duke and UNC, obviously.
Yeah, like they'll
have 3 or 4 teams definitely,
but they're not even gonna have great competition to get in with.
Yeah, not 5 or 6 like last year. Yeah, I think SEC, Big 12 are gonna dominate.
Okay, all right.
I think right now best team in the country is Auburn.
All right,
from the naked eye. I'm a Marquette fan. I think they're the best team in the Big East.
Okay.
UConn's
Cam Jones.
UConn not no more. So. Should be a fun year.
Bet. All right. Well, I think that about does it. So yeah, thank you everybody for listening. We'll be back
in January.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, maybe we could do like a Zoom or something. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Bet.
We're gonna try to post like more stuff on TikTok too.
Definitely. January, we're gonna be back.
Yeah.
We got a big finals week, and then we're gonna be on. Bet. All right. Thank you everybody for listening. Peace.